Thanks to me for the introduction to the team here. As you can see, we've got Dr. Karsten Karcher from IAPA and Geir Lange from Veidekke in Norway, also involved in IAPA. So jumping straight in, guys, we've got limited time. As you've just seen, National Highways in the UK has recently published its net zero plan, which outlines the targets and timelines for itself as an organisation, us as industry, to deliver a net zero carbon network. Now, as you know, the UK industry has been working on carbon reduction for many years, as we all have in Europe, and we've learned about the technologies and lessons from yourselves and others across Europe. So we thought we'd have another discussion about the challenges ahead and the practicality, perhaps, of achieving targets, both for UK and perhaps also for Europe. So, gents, as I mentioned, we've got the challenging targets and some clear and obvious reasons why. What do you think of those targets based on your experience and perhaps the drivers across Europe and in your own countries? Karsten, if I come to you first.
Thank you, Malcolm. Clearly, we have the European Green Deal from 2019 in Europe, and that was a new initiative that was heavily supported by the new European Commission that was elected in 2019, and the head of the new Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. So, may I say in her first 100 days, she wanted Europe to strive for more by being the first climate neutral continent. So she wanted to have the first climate law in Europe, and that was very ambitious. So just a few weeks ago, it was again announced a higher goal, which is the Fit for 55. So at the beginning, that she was talking about 40% emissions reduction by 2030 and zero emissions by 2050. But now we are at 55% by 2030. So, and how does she want to reach that? So that's with a more ambitious and extended emissions trading system, which also includes traffic and construction, a new industrial strategy. We want to be, or she wants to be, that Europe is the world leader in circular economy and clean technologies. And there should be a different principle to the way we produce, we consume, and we trade. So a different thinking in Europe. A zero pollution ambition, protect citizens' health from environmental degradation and pollution, addressing air and water quality, hazardous chemicals, and industrial emissions. So here we go. And immediately after the release of this European Green Deal, IAPA had the chance to provide its views and the possibilities and the feasibilities and also the contribution of the European asphalt industry to really decarbonize asphalt production and road construction. And we did this with an IAPA manifesto, which we presented at the European Parliament with participants from the Commission and, of course, members of the European Parliament. And the clear goal was to focus on reducing and preserving. And yeah, but we can look at the details maybe later.
Yeah, thanks, Karsten. Geir, any different aspect from Norway, perhaps, to those drivers?
No, actually, it's the same drivers in Norway. We have this goal to reduce emissions by 2030 and also further on 2045, 50. And the work we've done in IAPA with for the past year has helped us a lot in our industry in Norway to achieve what we actually have done by now and still have to do in the next few years.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I've worked with you guys in IAPA for a while, and we've often talked about green public procurement as a trigger and a driver. Now, personally, I don't think that's been wholly successful for carbon reduction. Do you think it's achieved anything or is likely to achieve anything in the future?
So I would say that's mixed over Europe. If I look at the members of EAPA, and you look at the Central European countries, they have not implemented any green public procurement. The Netherlands have done quite advanced in that, so they have a kind of ladder which gives some positive aspects and some bonuses if you are more greener than another material, for example, or construction philosophy. And yeah, but I would say the Scandinavians are quite advanced at that, and they have implemented many things that have this green character. But this is more a question to Geir, because he's the expert from Scandinavia and from Norway.
Yeah, we worked with it for many years now, and just as a remark, Warmix asphalt was developed in 1996 and now just introduced in the market, because it has been a long struggle for us in Norway and the company who developed it. And 10 years ago, the Contractor Association in Norway, we started to see how we can increase the use of Warmix asphalt, because there is obviously advantage for it. And luckily we got some form of bonuses the first 2 years in 2013 and 14 from the public road administration, and that was working okay, but not too well, because it was always up to the client to choose if we want to use Warmix or not. But for the past 5 years, I think all the contractors in Norway have changed to Warmix asphalt production, so we are capable of doing it. By last year, it was a 40% Warmix asphalt production in our company, and just nearly reached 30% in Norway as a total. So yeah, it's working, but it's a slow process. And that was just Warmix asphalt. And then we have the alternative fuels, reducing emission from asphalt production. Started 5 years ago with biofuels at 2 plants in our company, and we struggled to get paid the extra money for choosing environmental friendly production. So yeah, green public procurement has just started to work okay in Norway, I will say.
Okay. And do you struggle to enable comparisons between suppliers, or is it everyone's going to the same technology, so it's not a problem? Everybody's roughly on the same green standing, as it were?
Yeah, when they started with these bonuses in 2013, it was a requirement that we should use foaming technique, because there was a lot of additives that could be used, but what's the effect of using such additives on workers and on the asphalt mix? So that was a requirement set by the road administration in 2013. So actually a lot of the asphalt plants in Norway changed to foaming system. So obviously on some projects, on some smaller asphalt plants, we don't have such system, and then we can use the Warmix agent as additive. So but anyway, we are, yeah, I don't have the percentage of all our competitors in Norway, but I believe that there is 70% or 70 asphalt plants in Norway can produce Warmix asphalt.
Okay, and I know we'll move on later to how we calculate our impacts and so forth. But yeah, and Karsten, if I recall, this was something we were addressing in the early days when you joined EAPA, about assessing our carbon footprint and sustainability. How did you feel that went from your perspective and for the members?
That was back in 2013, so a long time ago now. And we started working in a working group to create a carbon footprint document, which was no one know which direction, what should be included. So that we were a little bit lost, I would say. But then within 3 years, we really produced an excellent document, I would say. It was a guidance for the EAPA or for the European asphalt industry to provide them with a clearer view of their evidence of the green credentials of our material. So created documents, name is Guidance Document for Preparing Product Category Rules and EPDs, so Environmental Product Declarations for asphalt mix, of course. And we put together all the aspects of different countries, from UK, from France, from Norway. Norway was the basis at that time because they were the only country to really have an EPD. So there was a lot of work, and that was based on the new European standard 15804, so the mother of all these calculations. And there's interesting points in this standard, because it's really addressing the raw material, the production, the delivery, the installation, the life in situ, and also the process afterwards, so the deconstruction, recycling, and reuse phase of materials. So each of this phase is linked to a carbon amount, and at the end you can calculate what the ton per asphalt, maybe from cradle to gate or at different phases, really is consisting of. Yeah, and this document, I have to say, was the basis for a European standard that was developed in the years after 2016. So still work in process, but the work that the EAPA committee did, and Malcolm and Geir were important parts of that committee, was the basis for this standard. So we did a really good work for our industry. But I think Geir can say more about this.
Nice one, Carsten. I think we call that a hospital pass.
Yeah, thanks for nothing, Carsten. That's good. Well, yeah, as we mentioned, we emission from asphalt production, cradle to gate, and end of life. That's a lot of different issues, and we really need to know where we can actually cut emissions. Where is the major emission coming from? As discussed in Norway for the past 2 or 3 years, is electrical vehicle and machines and all these things, but producing a ton of asphalt, that's totally different. It's a lot of factors. So we use this guidance system, and we prepared a PCR, Norwegian PCR for asphalt payment. And obviously we need to include a use phase, the B phase, as it's called in 15804. And that's really not up to us as asphalt producer to choose which increase in traffic there will be in the next 10 years for the service life. If the client asks for a specific asphalt mix, then we deliver the asphalt mix within the requirement. But anyway, the use phase is up to the client. So what we did in the PCR, the Norwegian PCR, was that we introduced the nominal service life for different road types in Norway, measured by the road administration, depending on vehicle, number of vehicle and climate and all these things. So we have a sort of calculation tool within the EPD system that may be used, but that's not used in green public procurement as a standard asphalt contracts. So and also this was the discussion in the revision of the EPD standard, or PCR, for asphalt payment now the recent year, I believe. So it's actually we are asphalt producer, and most contractors in Norway also pave the asphalt, have responsible for the transport and paving operation.
So that's where you have the most data, really.
Yeah.
So you can accurately, and your competitors can accurately declare the impact of what they do. not something that's out of their control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So yeah, I mean, as you know, we've talked about this. We're working with our major client in the UK, National Highways, on establishing a similar approach to data acquisition and in-use scenarios. And as you said, something we're working to bring through on the European standard work. So, given that you've got that system, I presume that enables you to identify the hotspots in the system where the carbon impacts are coming from, and that enables you to act on them.
Yeah.
Are there any lessons from that process that maybe we can take from yourselves and implement in the UK?
Yeah, we have the two hotspots is the bitumen we use in asphalt. That's of course it's full of carbon, and then we have the fuel in the asphalt plant. And as a rule of thumb, there is 40% emission from the bitumen and raw materials, and 40% from the production of asphalt. That leaves you 80% with transportation and of raw materials and transportation of the asphalt mix out on site. And actually the paving operation is just 3% of the emission of a ton of asphalt. So what we have to do is to check our asphalt plants to produce with lower fuel or alternative fuel. That's the key issue, I think. I don't think, I know it's the key issue. And then we have to see on different binders. Obviously, we need some binders in the asphalt. There's been a lot of research in the past 20, 30 years that something will happen in the future. And based on those research and previous research now and invention, then we can introduce biobinders. We'd have the same working. Sorry, which have the same quality that standard hot mix asphalt. So and now we've introduced that and put it on more than 20 roads in Norway this year at least. So bio bitumen is one thing coming to cut the bitumen effect of emission, and then we have at the asphalt plant. And in some years, transport lorries and haulage of asphalt will obviously help reducing the emission from a ton of asphalt.
Good, that's great. As I say, it all sounds very familiar to me in the UK, and our colleagues in cement have just completed trials demonstrating hydrogen and biomass fuels on a cement plant. So hopefully we can draw down from that experience and look to apply some stuff to the asphalt plants. And as I say, we're all waiting for the big truck manufacturers and so forth to decide where they're going to go and how they're going to contribute.
Yeah.
So are there any other? Well, I think we've covered all the drivers. I did pick up that you said you got bonuses for reducing carbon. I think getting paid to reduce carbon rather than paid to do it and pass on the cost is a really interesting approach, but probably ends up cost neutral. So I think as I know, and Carsten's already said, Norway and Scandinavia are certainly at the leading edge of reduction. So it's no surprise really with any IAPA, we tend to follow their lead. Carsten, you got any views on that?
Yeah, as I mentioned, when we look at what happens in the US, they have also the PCRs and EPDs in place, and it's based on the Norwegian experiences. And so it's a funny thing. We developed it in Europe. It came to it was brought to the US, also the WARMIX, and then it came back to Europe. We are using it more extensively, and so this is interesting. But okay, it is as it is. But maybe I like to mention one more thing when we talk about its carbon emissions reduction. It's not only about the carbon emissions, it's also about the other emissions. So we have the NOx, the SOx, the fine particles, and the fumes. And this is also a benefit if we have a different procedure to produce the asphalt with, let's say, reduced temperatures. We reduce also these things that go alongside with it. It's not only less energy consumption, it's also less fumes and emissions. And this is a win-win. So if we think of temperature reduction, or warm mix asphalt as we call it, or it can be called, so that's also a gain, and the environment for the workers will be much more better when we have reduced temperatures. So that's also a key point for these approaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just will add, Carsten, that actually when using warm mix, we reduce the emission at the paver, and it's a much more friendlier place to work along the road. So warm mix asphalt, yes, you can reduce the emission in the asphalt plant, but the main benefit is work environment on the paving job. So yeah.
Yeah, that was a precise answer to that. Correct. Yes, you're right. Definitely. Maybe I can also say something about this. Coming to the 55%. How can we reach the 55%? How is that possible? So Geir just already mentioned where are the most important parts during production of asphalt, where to cut carbons. And he also, with his colleagues, made a calculation that we use in EAPA to show the benefits or the possibilities. And there was one chart which reduces the carbon emission for 1 ton of asphalt by around 40%. In detail, it's 38%. Mm-hmm. And it's only by using 15% reclaimed asphalt, having dry aggregates, and a biofuel or biomass fuel. There was no low temperature asphalt applied, and it was only 15% of reuse of asphalt. And we all know that we can do better in this perspective. We already do better all over. So it will be more, let's say, it's not so difficult for the asphalt industry to come to this 55%, so 40% plus 15% with low temperature asphalt with 55, and we even increase the quota for recycling, so or for reuse to be more precise. We are almost there, not all over Europe, but at least in Norway and in the UK and in Germany and in the Netherlands. This is definitely feasible within the next years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sold, but I kind of have to be. Looking at that's our emissions, what we're responsible for. Is there anything else you can see from the asphalt industries and what it delivers to clients? Any other benefits? Any other carbon reduction benefits that our industry can offer? Perhaps in maintenance and road condition.
Yeah, so that is something that EAPA had a deeper look into 3 or 4 years ago, when there was a common approach to reduce CO2 emissions in the transport sector. And everybody was talking about the fleets, the long distance haulages, and the reduction of all this, the combustion engines and CO2 emissions. But no one thought about the real infrastructure where these vehicles and cars have to drive on. And if they are in a bad condition, you definitely need more fuel, because you have all these bumps, these unevenness, and so on and so on. So you use more fuel, and the rolling resistance is an important part. And with even and smooth roads, don't forget about the skid resistance in that perspective, but if with even and well-textured roads, you can reduce rolling resistance and fuel consumption, and you reduce it for every car that rolls over that every year with every journey. And it's not just a one situation win. So this is something that has to be done by the road authority. So if they have their road surfaces in a good shape or a good condition, every user or every client every of their clients reduces CO2 emissions and has a less cost because it reduces, has less energy consumption for the vehicle, so a gas or fuel.
Yeah, of course you can extend that if you happen to run an EV, an electric vehicle, you're not saving fuel, you're extending range for the same amount of charge. So it's we're still looking forward on that respect. So we're a bit pressed for time. Any other lessons of things perhaps that we shouldn't do?
We shouldn't do what we have done for the past 30 years. We should do something slightly different, but it will help us reducing the emission. And also just to mention that asphalt production and 1 ton of asphalt is one thing, service life is the other one, not just rolling resistant, but from 2006 to 2012, there was some 35 functional requirement contract in Norway where the contractor had to guarantee a certain service life for the payment. And all those projects show that we could extend the service life of asphalt. So that's we increased the lifetime with 50%, and that's a 50% reduction in emissions. So it's possible. So
Don't compromise, really.
No, and we have the responsibility for the quality of the road. So hence the same we can say for warm mix asphalt. For the past 2 years, it has been opened 5 larger highway projects, design, build and operate project, where the contractor has the responsibility for 20 years. And on 4 of those 5, the contractor has chosen warm mix asphalt. So that should be, we are not stupid using it. It works. We have proven it for 25 years. So we are confident that it will work. So,
Carsten, any other tips?
Yeah, it's not a different material, it's just a different process to produce it. So this is something that is very important for the people. Yes, if time still allows, I would come back to your question, what we should not do. We have 3 more minutes. Yeah, we should not recycling. Recycling is not good.
Sorry?
Yeah, recycling is not good. At least you should say recycling is not good enough. So we should reuse our material. We should build long-lasting roads, repair them if needed, or maintain them in a good condition. If that's not possible, we should reuse the material in a real asphalt road again. And if that is not possible, we can recycle the material as a, let's say, black rock or black stone or whatever, black aggregate. And if that is possible, we have several other levels. But this is the question of the waste hierarchy. And so we should start at the top. Top is have long-lasting good roads, and then repair them, maintain them, and if that's not possible, reuse. And we talked also about the influence of reuse and the carbon in the calculation per 1 ton of asphalt. So if we have reuse rates of 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, even higher is possible for some mixtures, we have definitely also this carbon gains. But one important addition to that, if we do reuse, maybe we have to put something new in, maybe recycle agents or reuse agents or whatever we call them. We have to be careful what we put in because we want to be able to have the next cycle again. When one day we have to take that out, it should be still technical, okay, health and safety aspects should be fine, carbon footprint should be fine, and all these things. So be careful what we put inside. It's asphalt, not trashfalt.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. As you know, well, you had me worried when you said don't recycle, but and you guys know what a pedant I am for the use of the English language. So thanks for supporting me there. And again, I've used that phrase of asphalt, not trashfalt, for a while. So yeah, I mean, we really are up against the clock. So I'm going to have to close it there. It's always a pleasure to speak with you guys, even if it's still only on the screen. I'm sure we'll have some interesting questions to follow on. Thanks for your time, and I hope we can all meet again soon and maybe share a glass of something cold. Always makes these discussions more pleasurable. So skål and prost, and I'll hand back to myself in the real world.
Yeah.
Thanks again, gents.
Thank you so much.